Thanks for staying with us. This is still Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. Today, we'll give some attention to the latest development in the civil service reform. Let's begin with a background report by Oyeyemi Ajayi.
Civil servants are the heartbeat of governance, the engine room that keeps the nation running. They are not just another part of the society. Their role is central to our growth and development. And just like with any engine, when it's not working properly, things start to go wrong. In this case, it can lead to questionable practices and inefficiencies, problems that need to be tackled headlong. And that's why the call for a more effective reform in the civil service has never been louder. Civil service reform simply means taking deliberate steps to improve how the government civil service operates, making it more efficient, more effective and better equipped to deliver quality public services. It's about boosting capacity, ensuring accountability and making the system more responsive to the needs of citizens. Over the years, there have been notable efforts to make the civil service more productive and people-friendly. Initiatives like the Federal Integrated Staff Housing Fish Program, the Treasury Single Account TSA, and the Federal Civil Service Strategy and Implementation Plan, as well as Servicom, a service delivery program focused on raising public service standards, are all part of this push for change. Experts agree that successful reforms can transform the public service into a system that's efficient, effective, and accountable. But the big question is, will these reforms truly have the power to change the system for better? That's what our guests will be talking about shortly.
Obviously, and it affects all of us. Don't forget, you can be part of our conversation. We will have the numbers displayed already. It's there, 081-696-88126, and that will be much later as we progress into our conversation. But let me start our introduction this morning, and I'll begin with the Permanent Secretary, Service Policies and Strategies Office. That's in the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Dr. Deborah Odo. We are glad to have you. And I must say, Demola, we're beginning to see permanent secretaries, come out to speak, and I'm sure this part of the reform is going on. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Good morning. So glad to be here.
Yes, ma'am. We also have President Association of Senior Civil Servants of Nigeria and Acting President, Joint National Public Service Negotiating Council, Comrade Shehu Mohammed. Thank you very much for joining us.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Okay, also in the studio with us this morning is the Senior Technical Advisor, Governance Reforms, Technology and Innovation Office of the, is it Chief of Staff now? Head of Civil Service, Dr. Gideon Adogbo. You are welcome to the studio.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right. We also have in the studio with us Deputy Director, ICT, Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare Service, WISE, Ambassador Hajia Ramatu Onoiza Bello. You're welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, Nigeria.
Okay. Claire.
All right. Thank you. I hope you're not doing this because the permanent secretary is here.
You're
not allowing me to go first.
Ladies first.
All right, thank you. So let's, it's only proper we start with the PAMSEC. And I'm just wondering, I know when this administration came in, there was, a vision of turning our economy into a $1 trillion dollar economy by 2030. And I'm just wondering if you could put into context and perspective the nexus between, the civil service and the realization of that vision.
Thank you. Just like we said in the intro, the civil service truly is the engine of government. And what we have done in the civil service is to have a plan that ensures that we are able to contribute maximally towards accelerated national development. So we have a federal civil service strategy and implementation plan that has key priorities, and all of those priorities align with our national development plan, and more importantly, with the Renewed Hope agenda that the President is implementing. Our priorities cover capability building and talent management. It covers strengthening and institutionalizing a modern performance management system. We are also strengthening our integrated payroll and personnel information system, the human resource aspect of it. We are innovating all the time. And so innovation and institutionalizing innovation across the service is also a priority for us. Digitalization in all aspects, and you'll hear more about that as we go along, is also a priority in our plan. And then the last, but certainly not the least, is staff welfare. And so we're focusing a lot on staff welfare, so we have a workforce that's able to deliver. Our vision is to have a world-class service, a world-class civil service that's professional, that is efficient, productive, incorruptible, and citizen-centered.
But we are not a revenue generating. So how does this translate into financial resources for the country?
So it's about service delivery across the core ministries, across the parastatals, across the agencies. For us to be able to actually generate resources, the individuals, the officers need to be able to offer services effectively, efficiently. So whichever sector you're in, whether it's education, whether it's health, across board, what we want is for every civil servant, every public servant to be able to offer their service in a way that ensures that whatever it is, whether it's the tax reform, whether it's any financial aspect, whatever is done in the ports, everywhere, whatever is done efficiently, and we can actually achieve our goal.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Everything that is done has to align with government goals and programs. Let's bring in Comrade Shehu Mohammed now. You being the president of the Joint National Public Service and Negotiating Council, can you just tell us, in brief, some of the challenges the civil service, is facing and how these reforms aims to address them?
Well, thank you very much once again. As a civil servant, welcome any form of reform towards enhancing service delivery and achieving government objectives. But however, the process of implementing the reform is what matters to us, because as civil servant, first of all, our interest in terms of welfare package should be the main focus in order for us to implement the government policies. Where there is gap between government policy and implementation and welfare benefit to civil servant, there's going to be slow in implementation of government policies and programs. For instance, the major problem civil servants are facing has to do with housing, transportation, and healthcare service delivery. If this aspect of the welfare is given more attention by the government, definitely all form of policies that government formulated will definitely be implemented seamlessly without any action. But where there is this gap, civil servants are facing, having it very difficult to house themselves and their family, finding it very difficult to transport themselves from their houses to the office and come back. Definitely is going to cause a slow in the implementation of policies. So I think when the policy is aligned with this issue of welfare to civil servant, the better for us, the better for the best implementation of government policies.
I'm just wondering, but what you feel should be the first step, for this whole reform plans. What should be the first step? Because you talked about some of these challenges. Yes, because there's a whole lot that the office of the head of the civil service of the Federation is doing in terms of reforms. But what should be a priority step?
Well, I think both can be taken at a time, at the same time, because the policy can be rolled out, and then the welfare package also can be looked into. The implementation of policies of government has to do with, one, the aspect of training, which is very part of the reform. and then the welfare package of civil servant. Because where there's no capacity building to implement the policies, definitely there's going to be a gap. And then where there's a gap in achieving the welfare of civil servant, definitely there's going to be a gap. So the two can be rolled at the same time. While the policy is being rolled out for implementation, the welfare aspect of civil servant, especially as it affects the housing and transportation aspect of it, be looked into with a view of improving the present situation the civil service are facing. You agree with me when you talk of like the minimum wage. You're talking of 70,000 naira minimum wage, and by now the economic realities has already eroded the value of the 70,000 naira minimum wage, because based on the high cost of living, a average civil servant receiving 70,000 naira will have to pay 30,000 naira for electricity, will have to pay a certain amount for transportation. At the end of the day, the much concentration needed to implement government's policy will not be there for the civil servant to put in their best.
So so as a comrade, how are your people, responding to these reforms?
Well, as civil servants, we ensure that yes, we follow the process and procedures towards implementing the policies, and at the same time we engage the relevant authorities to make sure that focus is being given to welfare of civil servants, because definitely achievement of this implementation of these policies will not be attained without vis-a-vis taking the welfare of civil servants along with the policy implementation.
Okay. Thank you very much, Comrade. Let's bring in Senior Technical Advisor Dr. Gideon now to this conversation. You are in charge of technology and innovation. Can you just tell us, how do you think technology and digitalization can be leveraged on to enhance the delivery to public service?
Thank you. Great question. Yes, technology is very important, and technology really is an enabler. And when we talk about technology, we're just talking about another way, a better way of doing something. So, and technology can be in anything. It could be music, it could be in anything. So, but when we talk about ICTs, like information technology, to drive this, for service delivery, like PS rightly talked about earlier, whatever you do, technology being an enabler can accelerate, it can make it faster, it can make it better. And digitalization as one of the core pillars of the reforms, which is very important. The reform is people-centric and then system also. Okay. So if you look at the 6 reforms she talked about, the capability building, performance management, using HR module of IPs, it's all about the people. It's all about the capability of building the civil servant, and also the welfare component. The technology component is just 2 things there, the digitalization and then the part of IPPIs. Innovation is also about the civil servant. So in doing all this, how do you enable it? You need technology to enable it. And today we use technology in everything that we do, whether in the way we communicate with people, in whatever we do. So for civil service to deliver the services to the citizens, they need to use technology. And that's where digitalization is coming in, to ensure that all work processes are digitalized, that you can take the advantage of that technology, leverage it to be able to deliver the same services you will have delivered before, but in a faster.
But what's the digital literacy rate of the workforce, of the civil service workforce, to also, drive, the digitalization process?
Great question. So I know that people, first time when they hear about digital literacy or they talk about technology, hardware and all that, the first thing, do you have laptops, do you have computers, do you have all of that? But I believe that you should meet people where they are. Where are people right now? How do people communicate? How do people handle things? Almost everybody is using a device, the phone. The cell phone is everywhere. People use, some have smartphones, some may not have smartphones. So meet them where they are. So going by that, you use the technologies that are available, leverage that to deliver. So if you ask an average civil servant, does he have digital literacy? Can he use a phone? If you can use a phone, then use that to make the work done. Because almost everybody will do your banking services using your phone. Whether you are spiritual, whatever, everybody is using his phone to do that. So from that level, you can build on it. If it's now to write the memo, how do you write the memo? What should you use? Then you can move to other tools. For digital literacy, people know that technology is a great enabler. So you build on top of that. Then part of the capability building skills is what we call the Smart P program, which is a structured mandatory training for civil servants. And part of that training, digital skills is part of it as a mandatory training. But beyond that, a whole lot of training is going on across the service, partnering with other technology support services like NITDA to do training for civil servants, and many other opportunities are coming up. And then I know people take a lot of courses online. It could be on WhatsApp, it could be on YouTube. So all these are channels to improve the digital literacy.
You encourage them to take up all these courses, or you make it mandatory for the civil servants to take these courses?
Yes, there's a structured part of the being mandatory, but there is also the conversation of continuous learning, because you should be a lifelong learner. That should be the culture, and that's part of the things that looking at. There are new initiatives coming on that to encourage you to learn every day, learn something new, and just continue learning.
Is there, and because this is a very critical aspect in this whole reform process, and if you know the generation of workforce that we have, of course, the older generation,
the new workforce now.
The new workforce. Well, we're beginning to transit into the digital new workforce, but you still have the manual driven. So I'm just wondering, do you have a transition plan, or are you taking this whole thing in a rush? Is there a phased plan for this transition to digital process?
Yeah, thank you. It's important that you have raised a very important question, and it's about inclusivity. And this reform is very people-centric, and we consider everyone. You can't use technology to divide people. Technology should be an enabler, and it must carry everybody along, and that transition happens. Yesterday, we deal with data because the reforms is completely data-driven. We use data to back it up. Okay. Yesterday, we had a public service live with head of the civil service of the Federation, and part of the polls we ran and people that were online, a whole lot of people, how do they communicate? They use WhatsApp. They use their email. That's live from public servants, what they use, the technologies they use. So most people, how many people do manual communication? You see that people actually use their tools. So meet them where they are. That's an initial point. So if you integrate these technologies into how you want to deliver service, how you want to communicate with them, that works well. So from their phones, then they can use desktops, they can use laptops as the tools for doing that communication. But the language is not strange. If there is a group created to communicate and share a circular, and say this circular is available, this posting has been done, you've already disseminated the information. Some people do their work and use it in a very secured environment, but that's just the starting point. We are not downplaying the fact that they need tools, they need a lot of support to make sure the right infrastructure is there for them. But we are carrying everybody along, whether old or young, to ensure that everybody understands, but meet them where they are.
Meet them where they are. Thank you so much. I mean, at least, Claire, you can bear witness to that.
We also have to
transit from paper to these, and also the promotion exam now is now CBT.
No, we'll come to that because we'll come to that.
So let's bring in Ajia Bello now. You are in charge of the service-wise GBT, and let's just give us practical examples of how civil servants are using it to assess rules, policies, guidelines, circulars more efficiently.
Good morning once again, and thank you very much for that question. When you talk about the service-wise GPT, it's one of the tools deployed by head of service to enhance service delivery. So what does it do? When you talk about service-wise GPT, it's like you are having your personal assistant by your side. Okay. It's a digital tool. So you have it at the, like PANSEC has an essay, the director has an essay. For every civil servant that uses service-wise GPT, it's like you have your own digital personal assistant at your fingertip. we have a lot of the way it works is a tool that's designed and customized for the civil servants. It captures the human resource, the procurement aspect, the compendium of circulars. So it's like all in one. Before the introduction of service-wise GPT, it takes time, hours, like just to write a memo and quote the right reference circular that's relevant to that memo. You have to open bulky public service rules, procurement booklet, and so much. And it takes hours. But now, civil service saves time. Because when you ask the service GPT, a human resource officer can just, what is the penalty or what is the paternity leave all about? In seconds, you get the answer. A procurement officer wants to know the threshold approval for the procurement of a particular project. You ask service-wise GPT, the answer is in seconds. So this has made workforce to be faster. You save time because you have your policy document, you have your circulars, you have everything, the public service rule, all in one space. And you get the answers accurate, simple, and in seconds. So this has boosted the confidence of the civil servant. Now I know when I write memos now to my director, to my PANSEC, and I need to quote the relevant public service rule, it's direct. And it's, of course, the right one. I'm quoting, I don't have to start guessing. So that has really helped. You see, when you ask a civil servant and go, give me a memo on this, write a report on the last training you attended, they don't
they're not jittery.
They're jittery because they know that, with service-wise GPT, I ask in seconds, I get my response, get it together, and you submit. So this has really improved service delivery in public sector. We are really embracing, and we are just so grateful for this innovation. You know what it takes for you to start opening bulky books to just get one rule from the public service booklet. So it has really greatly helped the way we do our work. The confidence is there. The clarity is so simple to use. You don't have to be a tech savvy to use the service-wise GPT.
But is it made available to all the civil servants at all levels and
apart from the core, those in the core ministries?
It is open to everybody. Just go on to the website www.ohcsf.
So to download the app or something?
It's not an app. It's just web enabled.
Just web enabled.
Yes. Okay. So when you go to the website www.ohcsf.gov.ng/servicewise, it takes you up straight to the interface. You sign up and you start using it. It's that simple.
Like that.
It's really, you may think it's simple. It's really not that simple because that's a very critical question that Demola asked. Yes. Beyond those who are in the core ministries, how much of this is out in the public domain for civil servants in other MDAs?
Like the parastatals,
to access. For instance, if I don't know this, that I have to go to your website, I probably would not do so.
You're right. Yes, that's interesting. But when the service-wise GPT was launched, first thing that head of service did is to go around MDAs and do a sensitization to all the MDAs. That's why actually, when they come to Federal Ministry of Health, for instance, I picked interest immediately. I said, this is a tool that my colleagues need to be aware of. So they went around every MDA and give the sensitization. So after this, when you deploy any innovation, the first thing you sensitize the people, the end users, then you follow it up, training, and because of change management is there. So this has been done. And the responsibility of especially the ICT department of every MDA, to now take it a step further. Let me give you an example of Federal Ministry of Health. I created a WhatsApp platform just to sensitize and bring on board the staff to get aware of this is a tool that it is important. And we have almost 165 staff on that platform. I didn't stop there. Then we engage them on physical training. This is how you use the app. This is how you use the tool to do your work. This is how you use the way you even ask questions. It's important to know how to ask the service GPT the right question and get the right result. So it is work in progress.
You know, my other question will be related to, I mean, the whole issue about deployment of AI, you know, in everything. I mean, some people just, you know, put in their questions into AI. AI generates a response and it's copied and all that. You said something about maybe maybe civil servants requiring to fill a particular, maybe your training, tell us, you put it in the chat and you bring and you copy and you take. Does that not make civil servants lazy and, you know, impede on, I mean, intelligence and skills development?
And the contrary is actually to make the civil service smarter. We work with memos. Every day of our life as civil servant, we write memos. Even the policy we generate, it starts from a desk officer that writes a memo. Okay, this is an idea. How do I go about it? The service-wide GPT or AI tool, the most interesting part of the service-wide GPT is designed for the civil servant. It's not like the conventional AI tools. This one works. That's why I said it is like you have your civil service rule, your procurement rules, your human resource, everything that we need to, your circulars. This paternity leave was introduced and accepted. When was the circular given out? You don't need to type your
So
head.
it's civil service focused.
Yes, and it's designed to make the civil service smarter, not lazy.
Okay.
Yes, smarter.
Yes, smarter, because it's the question that you ask that you will receive. So you have to ask the right question to get the right answer.
Yes, I think we need to make this, you know, give this more media visibility. Yes, because you know, the civil service has a whole lot of things to do.
Engagements, yes, from the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation. Like she said, we've done a lot of sensitization. And just yesterday, as Dr. Gideon had said, we had the 3rd edition of Public Service Live with the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation. So the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Mrs. Didi Esther Wilson-Jack, ONMNI, had started this, and it's quarterly. And it's online, and it's open to all public servants. And the turnout has been very encouraging. So a lot of people actually are eager to know about things that could make their work faster, smarter, and they've been catching on. So we've done that. Thousands of people, where I don't have the exact numbers, but we had thousands of people who logged on, and we've had some training on the AI tool, and people are using it. And each time we have the Public Service Live, we ask about usage and any problems they're having, and we get feedback. So it's certainly we
feedback
can do more.
Encouraging.
Yes, encouraging. And it's helping us to improve the tool as well.
Okay, tell us about the structural changes, because when you talk about reforms, you gave us earlier on, give us an overview of what the reform is all about. Just tell us about the structural changes that we're likely to see in this proposed civil service reform and the impact it will have on public service delivery.
So the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation is responsible for ensuring that government agencies are organized in an efficient way. And so we have a department that makes sure that whether it's a core ministry or agency, the structure is the best fit. So we look at the mandate of each organization, and the structure is aligned towards that. And it all starts from the top. So we have our National Development Plan, we have the priorities, we have the sectoral goals and objectives, and then we have for each ministry. It's all in line with the contracts that the ministers have also signed with Mr. President. So each ministry has its mandate, and based on that mandate, the structure is developed to make sure it can deliver on it. So if a new department is needed in order to be more efficient, then that is done. And it's communicated to the stakeholders. So in terms of structure, we're always looking at it and making sure that we make whatever changes are necessary to keep us relevant, to keep us focused on our mandates. But apart from the structure itself, one very major thing that's going to happen is the issue of the personnel. So if you were at the International Civil Service Conference, the first edition of the International Civil Service Conference, the president was there himself. He honored us with his presence, and we're really grateful for his support. The head of the Civil Service of the Federation.
I was there too.
Yes, you were there too. Thank you for facilitating. Yes. And one of the things the president mentioned during his speech is the fact that we're going to have a personnel audit and skill gap analysis across the Federal Civil Service. That is kicking off this month, August.
Okay.
And so we're going to be looking at all the core ministries, looking at the mandates again, and then checking the staff and making sure that we have the staff we need and they're actually doing what they should do. So like I said, it's not just the personnel audit, it's also the skills gap analysis. Mm. And at the end of it, we'll have data about where the gaps are, what's working well, what's not working well, and what we need to do to be able to fill in those gaps. And we have the support of the president to be able to take that to a logical conclusion, whereby after we identify the gaps, we're able to fill them in, and certainly we would have a more efficient workforce that's ready to deliver on all the objectives.
Fantastic, and we're actually looking forward to that. But because again, you've talked about processes, to make delivery efficient and effective. But let us also look at what affects, the civil servant. And I want you to talk to us about what is being done in terms of merit and performance of the civil servant. Sometimes, we hear recruitment is done and, we only see new people. The process is not seldom transparent according to, people. And then this constant verification exercise, it makes, we in the media, we have, I don't want to say we have this, we're always on the go, so is there a database so that, of the personnel, so that you don't continuously, do this verification exercise, and then people know that when recruitment is happening, it is transparent, and everybody, is recruited based on merit and not patronage, one kind of patronage or that.
So the reforms actually started some years ago, and I must acknowledge the fact that we've had quality leadership, consistent leadership supporting the reforms in the civil service as well as from the presidency. And so in 2017, when the first plan was developed, it ended in 2020, and then we had a new plan. We've had 3 heads of services so far, and each one has continued to implement this plan. And our current head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Mrs. Wilson-Jack, has actually, in the last 1 year in office, put all efforts into accelerating implementation of this current plan. One of the pillars of the plan is the integrated payroll and personnel information system. And the plan is focusing on strengthening and improving the human resource module of it. And already we've been able to record success. So over the years, with implementation of this, we've been able to identify and weed out ghost workers, thousands of them. We also do have the database. And so we do have a database with all our staff, government workers are on that database. So we have that. However, the verification periodically is necessary just to make sure that because we already identify human beings would always try to do the wrong thing, and so
always try to beat the system.
Yes, so we do have checks and balances in place to make sure that we're able to identify those quickly and deal with them appropriately. So in terms of recruitment, we work with the Federal Civil Service Commission. So for the Federal Civil Service Commission is responsible for recruitment. What they are doing right now, already the process for the next recruitment has started. It's been advertised online. People have registered. There's been a screening. And so those who have passed the first stage of screening have received information regarding that. And there's going
This
to be...
Sorry to interject. This online screening, does it have the public buying? I mean, do people actually believe in it? Because the stories you hear is, I don't mind them. They don't recruit the people they want to recruit. They just say, honestly, that's the conversation you'll hear.
Bad news tends to travel faster. And people are really keen on hearing negative stories.
That's why you need to assure us.
Yes. So we do have success stories in the civil service. We do have many examples in the core service and in agencies where you can see the process play out, where you'd have the advertisement, where you have the first level, second level of screening, you have the test done. And I could easily use the PUMSEC selection process as an example, and I'm a direct beneficiary of that. So with that, you have the call circular. One just went out maybe last week. The circular goes out, all those who qualify send in their applications, and then again, various levels. So for the PUMSEC selection, you have the exam done, and the results are released and published on the website. So for that first stage, the exam numbers are there, the scores are there on the website for everybody to access. Then we go on to the next stage, which is computer-based. And for that one also, it's done, and it's a panel it's not just a one-man thing, and it's not just the civil service. We have private sector involved, we have other experts, and we have retired heads of service, retired PUMSECs on the panel. So it's actually something that's very transparent. We have EFCC, ICPC also very much involved in these processes. And at each stage, it's it's announced, and on the website you can follow it.
It's very
and
transparent.
Very transparent.
Okay.
And so Rome wasn't built in a day, and so a lot of the reforms have been going on over the years, and we're getting better, getting stronger. And I'm sure that you would find that with this recruitment with the Federal Civil Service Commission, similar thing would happen. We've done the first stage. They would have the exams, computer-based exams, and then the results will be released, and then we go on to the next stage. So with the interviews, with everything, the results are there for everyone to see, and the patronage may not be removed 100% overnight, but certainly it will be minimal.
Okay.
Just give me a moment.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm just, because I relate more with the public probably than you do. What can you talk to us about promotion? Civil servants complain of stagnation. How is it computed? And why do civil servants get stagnated when they are due for their promotions? Is there any reform coming up in this area?
So you talked about the structure. So there's a structure in place. You have units, you have divisions, you have departments. And for instance, the number of departments would determine to a large extent the number of directors that you can have. The number of special offices that you have, would also determine a number of those things. So what most people, as they rise, initially you would not hear complaints about vacancies because it's at that level. But then as you go higher, certainly the number of spaces for assistant director or deputy director or director, because of the structure, would be limited. It won't be as many as the people who are applying. So what the system would do is make sure that we have the process whereby we get the best, and we get those who come out of the process. So we do have the Civil Service Commission, again, is responsible for level 15 to 17 exams, and then they've dedicated that responsibility to core ministries for more junior staff. So that's done within the ministries. So for each stage, it's all about knowing your public service rules. Okay. If you're a professional, also being able to demonstrate that you have the capacity to be able to move on to the next level. One of the things that we are doing now that will help change things tremendously is the modern performance management system. So that also has already started.
Is that the PMS?
That's the PMS. Yes, that's the PMS. So for the next exams for directorate level, for instance, instead of using only APA, because APA has been phased out, APA was the annual performance evaluation report. Yeah. And like the name implies, it was annual. which was a major problem. But now with the PMS, staff are being, you have the monthly reports, reviews, and then you have the quarterly appraisals. And regularly, every quarter, each staff is appraised, and most of not all ministries have it online, but most already have the electronic version of it. So, for instance, with the directors that I work with, online I go on and I can do the appraisals each quarter for the directors that work with me, and then it goes down like that. And all of it is based on the contract. So it's not just the ministers signing contracts with Mr. President. Our head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Mrs. Wilson-Jack, has also signed her contract, and as permanent secretaries, we've signed ours with her. And down the line like that, the directors have signed theirs. And so everybody eventually knows exactly what they should be doing that it contributes to, one, the head of service objectives, but then also to the general civil service and to national development. And what the PMS system does is that at the quarterly, with the quarterly appraisals, with the monthly reviews, you're making sure that you're focused, you're in line, and corrections can be made faster instead of waiting for the whole year. So it's certainly a more efficient way of identifying who is working, who is producing, who is adding value, and eventually we will be moving towards using that more for determining who is promoted. But right now, we still, so instead of the APA, we're replacing that aspect. APA had 20% or so of the scores, of the total scores for promotion. So we're replacing that, and gradually we will keep moving on so that eventually those who are working will be the ones who will be promoted.
Okay, thank you so much,
Fantastic.
Pamsec. We have some questions here. Some of our viewers have sent comments and questions which they would like you to respond to. This one says, the mortgage scheme is unrealistic, asking civil servants to bring at least 3 to 5 million advance payment for a 20 million plus naira house is not okay. Civil servants spend more than 50% of their salary on transportation. A frustrated civil servant won't ever be productive. That's one. Then this one says, good morning, Mommy Claire. Mommy Claire.
Good morning. Who is that?
You look good, always.
Oh, thank you.
This is one of your fans. It's Oluwale from Ministry of Housing. All right. It said, please, welfare first before any policy implementation. I think it's directing it to you now. Sincerely, when you see civil servant who is not corrupt, you have seen poverty personified. So that is, it's because it is believed that most civil servants are corrupt because the welfare, that's what he's trying to say, that the welfare is nothing to write home about. Now this one says, this one is Oluwa Benson Bamidele from Ibadan. So we need to know how the new civil service reforms could remove the conventional bureaucracy in public sector service delivery. Then Akeju Olagbaju says the current reform is a departure from one size fits all and has placed much emphasis on digital toll and encourage innovation. However, we still need to do more to adopt e-service delivery for better efficiency to drive national development. Kudos to the head of service of the Federation and her team. And the last one says the EFCC boss had accused several civil servants of massive corruption. Dr. Deborah should speak on this. This Moses Adebayo from Lagos. Okay, you want to react?
I have some.
Maybe let them react to this.
Okay.
And then they can react so that we don't lump up all the questions.
Hands up.
All right, good.
Thank you, and thanks for the questions and some comments. And thank you also for those who acknowledge the work we're doing. We're grateful. Right. So I would start with our rewards and recognition. In June, we recognized civil servants who had distinguished themselves. And it has been done annually before now. But we do have a new policy which the current head of the Civil Service of the Federation has put in place for rewards and recognition. And it's going to be done at all levels. So you would have it at departmental, you would have it at the ministry level where the minister acknowledges and rewards, and then you would have it at the entire Federal Civil Service level. And we have criteria, laid down criteria, what you need to do to be able to qualify and what you will be used to score, which is available. It's there and it's available to everyone. It's on the website, and again, the sensitization is taking place so that every member of staff knows what it is that's expected and what you're going to be scored on. And we've been able to have various rewards. At the last one, the two people got cars. One or two people got houses. We had 2-bedroom flats that were given out. We had a number of laptops and a number of other gifts that were given out at the Federal Civil Service level. And that also will be replicated across the ministries. But then in terms of everyone else, we do have the FISH program, the Federal Integrated Staff Housing Program, domiciled in the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation. And a number of civil servants have been able to access houses through that. I do know people who have houses, and we have one estate in Gwagwalada. We have across the city, and
I think
it's
they're talking
tough
about
that
the affordability now.
So for the fish houses, those are affordable, and it's civil servants level 12, level 10, 14 are able to, and you're able to pay monthly from your salary. For general mortgages and for the general housing system, I do know that that's a bit more expensive. But in terms of the civil service, we are making efforts to ensure that we're able to get the best deal for civil servants. So even with the federal government, the Staff Housing Loans Board, they also are prioritizing, ensuring that civil servants, because the service is open to all public servants actually, and making sure that civil servants actually are able to benefit from that. So it's something we're working on. The head of the Civil Service of the Federation is really keen on ensuring that the housing problem for civil servants is sorted out, and we have some plans in place, and we would share as time goes on. For transport also, apart from the staff buses that ministries have, there is also a new initiative supported by the presidency, and we will have buses that will be on the road shortly for civil servants at highly subsidized rates. So that's also for transport. Apart from, I remember for the innovation challenge that we had, because we have this innovation competition regularly, we have the one that's service-wide, coordinated by the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation, where we get people coming with various ideas. So I remember that I think the winner for this year actually had this idea about carpooling and various options of being able to have more affordable transportation for various levels of staff. So that's also being done, and we expect that before too long there'll be there'll be less pain.
So
all right,
more incentives for civil servants.
I don't know if this is a suggestion or a question really, and it's in terms of the recognition, and awards exercise. I don't know if it is again ministry specific. If that is the case, maybe you could now expand, because all civil servants are under the supervision of the Office of the Head of the... Yes. So if that could also be expanded...
So a larger public service.
Yes. It's seen as... Because sometimes when you see people say, this is from, this department, or this is this, people say, what about the drivers?
Yes.
What about cleaners in other NDAs that are doing as much? So, I mean, this just, is a suggestion, if that could be done. And then I have...
I want Dr. Adowo to respond to this question by Akeju. He says the current reform is a departure from one size fits all and has placed much emphasis on digital tools and encourage innovation. However, we still need to do more to adopt e-service delivery for better efficiency to drive national development. So what is your are you doing about that?
Yes, so PAMSEC has spoken a lot on all the issues, I mentioned earlier that technology is very important, right? Whatever we are doing now, because that's the way our life is. And now technology has moved even further using artificial intelligence, which we have talked about largely. So public service, civil service, it's part of the system, and the system has moved on to using technology to run itself. So if you're going to operate in this new environment, you must use what technology or what system is being used. So you can't be outside it. If you're outside it, you're behind. So the issue of emphasis on digital tools, technology, it's really key. At a point we want technology, you shouldn't even be talking about the technology because you're just talking about service delivery. It's just an enabler. It's not the technology that is the emphasis. It's actually the real service you have to deliver. You know, I mentioned earlier that the entire reforms, because we've been in this for years, like perhaps rightly said, from 2017, is people-centric. It's about building human capacity. It's about building human capital. That's what it's all about. And I will emphasize again, and when, civil servants or public servants, this reform is for civil service, but it's for the entire public service, actually. It covers the entire public service. The capability building, all the pillars affect the entire public service and not just the civil service. And when I say it's about the civil servants to do their work, capability building, for example, it's about building the capacity and the talent management of the civil servant because it's about the people. You talk about performance management, institutionalizing performance management. It's also about the civil servant or the public servant. And what does it mean? It's not about saying, oh, we want to punish you. Yes, there's consequence management component. But the issue is about how can we help you? We want to be able to see your performance and know how we help you. In the new performance management system, it has performance improvement plan. It has all those things, and which ensures that if you're not delivering well, you're not hitting your target. How can we help you? That's why those quarterly reviews are very important. You have dialogue, and then you have your appraisals happening so that the conversation is on, and we know how you can meet. So it's about helping that civil servant, public servant, to deliver their work.
Honestly, filling those PMS is quite laborious. Anyway.
The innovation, she meant, yes, it's a process. After a while, it should go away, and it becomes just part of the process. Because we all do it. Like I say, you do performance management in your homes. If you have somebody working for you, so make sure the plates are clean, and make sure this place is swept. And those are targets you send, and you send your KPI. We do this every time. So even the innovation Piers just mentioned, it's about the public servant. It's about the civil servant. How can we reward you for that creativity? And somebody mentioned earlier about bureaucracy. That helped to turn the bureaucracy around. Because by the time, when we started innovation way back, it was against the system, where you form a team, that the team lead is not a director. A director is a member of a team being led by a lower officer because the idea is from this lower officer. That changed the narrative completely. That was how those teams that won the events. And now, it's not just about delivering the work for government. We're also thinking about you. How can we help you to be a better person so that when you innovate, whether you're in service or out of service, you can use this innovation.
Commercial, I hope you're taking all this because, yes. Just one more before I take the comments that have come. This whole technology thing, does it also eliminate, this manual memo, carrying one file to the other when you want to send a query or, to civil servant A, the whole world will know that you are given, in other climes, you just send it, it's a personal one-on-one communication. Does it also include that kind of reform?
Great question, and thank you very much for bringing that question. And Piers, spoke to that earlier about the structure. Okay, the structure as it is about organizational design. When you design an organization, there are people level 8, level 10, up to the top, whether it's the head of the civil service or the federation. There is a workflow process, and there is a way. Using the workflow, there is a way. Whether it's a file, there is a way instructions move. There is a way you communicate. Ordinarily, in the manual process, it's not allowing you for confidentiality. It's not allowing so many things to happen. But technology as an enabler helps to strengthen those things. So when you now have digitalization and you now have for example, the enterprise content management system, which we're using for digitalization, it helps to strengthen that, to ensure that whoever is sending a memo from one person to another, it's only between you. We can see what WhatsApp has done, isn't it? WhatsApp technology talk about encryption,
Yes, encryption.
end-to-end encryption. That means that even the technology provider that is transmitting that content cannot, in fact, until, well, maybe quantum computing comes, nobody can break that. It's going to take you years. It's not that they can't break it. It will take you years. But if you use years to try to break one text, by the time you break it, the person probably is no longer even alive. So it's useless. So you won't waste your time trying to break. That's how useful it is. So it allows that to happen. That if you're sending a memo from one person to another, it's based on access control, access right. It's only those that have access that can do it. And you know who you're sending to. And you see, like I said, meet them where they are. The kind of technology that is operating today, you do that on WhatsApp. You're in a group, you send it to people. You know who you want to send a message to. And once that person has access to their device, they can do that. So technology is helping that to ensure confidentiality.
Thank you. Fantastic. I have a comment, and this is from Kende Paul, Lifecam. It says, again, the reward system is too poor. Then basic tools required to work, e.g. computer, papers, no electricity are almost not available. Third, the policymakers should involve the civil servants in the process of forming the policy. Lastly, government should overhaul and review the total process of building capacity of the civil servant from inherited archaic policy. Some do not meet modern realities. Kende Paul, thank you. Good morning, dear honorable civil servants. I am one of you, and I'm very not happy with the kind of salary structure designed for the public servants of Nigeria. And indeed, during the conference, during the interactive session of how to respond, listen and respond, the issue of salary structure came up by, I think, one of your directors. And it was his opinion, that the salary structure, discrepancy, it's also a problem that is impeding effective, contribution of service from the civil servant. So you may also wish to speak on this later. I said the salary of the public servant should be improved to, say, just 500,000 per month. That's his opinion. Ogenevu Godwin, Senior Medical Laboratory Scientist, Federal University of Health Sciences, Teaching Hospital, Azari, Bauchi. That message is from him. Good morning. My question is, how will the reform lose the hands of politicians from the control of the civil servant, such that a civil servant can say no to what is not right, thereby creating a strong institution? PS, please take the two questions, and then we now come back to... Okay, sorry. We have to take a break.
So maybe when we return from the break, there you are, response to some of these comments. We'll go for a break now. When we return, the conversation will continue. Stay with us.
Food security is national security. And where there is hunger, then the insecurity in that particular country will continue to remain. And so it is in everybody's interest, not just the government interest, but the private sector as well, to ensure that we have a very good agricultural policy that drives sustainable growth and then progress, of course, in its implementation. One of the things that we were doing and we stopped doing as a country is the operations of the storage facilities, the storage infrastructure, all the way to logistics, talking about farm mechanization, the vehicles that we need. The feeder routes, the construction of the feeder routes. The feeder routes are so called because they are not A-trunk roads. They are farmstead roads. I believe that if a considerable investment can go into the construction of feeder roads, then our machines, our transportation equipment would be a lot more efficient. There will be a lot of uptime, less downtime, and we will be able to, on good time, transport our produce from farm gate to either factory gate or market gate. Let us look at how we can make a dual use of our farm mechanization equipment so that when a tractor in the planting season takes a plow, a harrow, and it's able to prepare land, during the harvest and post-harvest season, you should be able to attach a bucket to that tractor to be able to take it to the nearest center where it can then be taken on. These are short and medium-term measures that we can take to boost productivity. We need to ensure that agriculture is practiced in the most acceptable and modern way possible. We need to make sure that the science of agriculture is indeed science. In other words, we are able to apply methods, we are able to apply resources into green agriculture so that when we are fully migrated away from hoes and cutlasses and all of these menial tasks, which, by the way, have formed some impression in the mind of these young people, they will then be able to see how enjoyable and how profitable agriculture can be. We've seen a lot of digitization of the sector. There is digitization of agriculture today. We have precision agriculture. We also have climate smart agriculture. All of these, of course, hydroponics, greenhouse agriculture, and all of these are actually a better way, a more excellent way of producing food in an organic manner, but a lot more smartly.
All right, welcome back. It's been a very, very interesting and enlightening conversation. I think this is the first time we are having this conversation, and maybe on any TV network, and it's quite enriching. I think we wanted the PAMSEC to respond to two of the issues before we bring in Comrade Shehu to give us an overview of what you think of all the issues that have been raised. Yes.
Thank you very much. The first one was about
salary structure.
So yes, that's a pain point for most civil servants. So this had come up before now, the fact that within the public service, you have civil servants getting much less than the equivalent person in the public service, in an agency or another arm of government. And the Federal Executive Council had actually inaugurated a committee to look into this. So yesterday it came up again at the Public Service Live with the head of the Civil Service of the Federation, and the head of service had indicated that she would follow up on that to see what's going on with that. So the committee is in place, and we will be following up to ensure that it's actually, we get the results that we expect from it, so that there's harmonization of salaries within the public service, and people actually can get a take-home that's motivating, that enables them to pay their bills and really helps them to be able to work without all the stress of thinking of how they can make ends meet.
I'm constrained to ask, might there be a timeline for that to happen?
Yes, no, there was a timeline, and I'm sure that will be looked into, but I don't know the exact, I can't give you the exact time, but hopefully this will not be the end of our conversation. Yes, so we should have something concrete the next time we talk about this.
Okay. Fantastic.
Yes.
The other one is political manipulation of civil servants.
Yes, so that's something that happens all across the world. It's not just Nigeria alone, but what we would strive to do is ensure that it's minimal. And we do have examples. I remember years back working with in the Ministry of Health, I do remember that there was a decision that the civil servants had proposed based on data. And the minister had another view, but when we presented our data and the evidence, he yielded. So there are instances where we work together and both sides benefit from the technical expertise of the other. But yes, we do have also examples of instances where it goes the other way. But with all that's happening, gradually, I think we're moving in the right direction.
That minister probably wasn't a politician. Maybe that was a technocrat.
No, I could tell you his name.
No, please don't.
Yes.
Don't, please.
Yes.
Don't.
So,
Yes.
but all in all, regarding the reforms that are taking place, it's really about each individual appreciating that they play a part. What I do matters. And so, for instance, when the current head of service, Mrs. Didi Esther Wilson-Jack, ONMNI, assumed office, one of the things she did was to bring back the Federal Civil Service anthem.
Yeah, the cultural change song.
Yes, so we have a song that is truly inspirational. The wordings, at our office, we play it regularly. It's in the lifts. And I really must acknowledge the support we are getting from the Nigerian Television Authority. It's being played on NTA 24. Yes. And so with the song, it says that it talks about our mission, it talks about our vision, it talks about how we are building a system that must stand the test of time. It talks about where there's drive, where there's inspiration, where there's partnership, then obviously the sky is not even the limit. We would go beyond that. It talks about reward. It talks about being able to give your best. So the lyrics are lyrics that are truly, truly inspirational. And so it's all about culture change and every person understanding their role and the fact that once we all have the right attitude and we're all committed to making things work, a step at a time, at least we are in the right direction. We are moving,
Yes.
well.
Right.
Now,
Maybe comrade.
You've listened to, all the issues that have been raised and the plans that the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation, have for civil servants. So in terms of the issue of digitalization and, skills development, capacity development, and all of that, what do you think about it? And what do you think could be the hamstring in the process?
Well, thank you. The whole reform, we believe, is towards enhancing the service delivery, and at the same time improving the lot of the civil servants. So there are reforms that are very, very sweet to throw away, but very bitter to swallow. Because when it comes to the implementation aspect of it, the civil servant, the implementers of the policy and the programs are not being adequately catered for. Especially when you look at the contemporary situation we are. The economic reality has really eroded whatever value of welfare that has been attached to civil servant. We are talking of minimum wage already now. Yes, we appreciate that we discovered that the recent minimum wage is all about 100% increase. But as we are talking today, the 70,000 naira is nowhere to be found. The value has already gone. And if you are talking of reform, the focus also should be on training and retraining of the civil servant. And where there is a gap in skill mismatch and the value of the training to the output of the service from the civil servant, then something is wrong. Something is missing. And what is missing is all about the welfare package of it. When you talk of housing now, because I had somebody mention the issue of housing, majority of Nigerian workers today deserve a housing program that will cater for their families. But you will be surprised, just as he mentioned Federal Mortgage Bank. The moment you approach Federal Mortgage Bank for assessment, to have access to these facilities, you realize that your income cannot be able to qualify you to access such houses. So some of these policies are done in such a way that it's not going to favor directly to the civil servant. Because in building the houses, from the aspect of the Federal Mortgage Bank, one, you have to consider, if you really are building for civil servant, you have to consider what amount the civil servant is receiving at the end of the month. So that means if it's 70,000 naira minimum wage, then the value of the house, or whatever you're going to construct, must be something that those officers in that line will be able to access. But if you build a house where you are expecting an initial commitment of 10%, and that 10% you're talking of millions, 2 million, 3 million, 5 million, then that means not for the civil servant. It goes for the highest bidder and money back. So that is where some of the policies are very, very difficult to achieve, because if you didn't carry the economic realities as it affects the civil servant into consideration before formulating some of these policies.
While formulating these policies, do they carry, you along?
Yes, we push for.
Do you collaborate with them?
Yeah, we always push for strong engagement, not at the implementation stage, but even at the initial stage of the policy. Mm-hmm. But some of these issues, are key to achieving the implementation of these policies. Our agitation has always been on a living wage. And it's only if you address this problem of living wage that you have less problem in the civil service. Where wage is being given that is not commensurate to the economic realities in the country, there's going to be a problem.
Yes, but this living wage now, let's even, because the PAMSEC has already indicated that, something is being done to harmonize, the salary structure of civilians. With the public service, such that it's at par with what is obtained. Does that suffice?
No. What we are saying is a living wage. And what is tenable now in both sectors is not a living wage. So even if you bring both salary structures, you are not going to attend our agitation for a living wage to Nigerian workers. So unless a concerted effort is being put in place to at least face the reality, then this issue of wage will be finally put to rest.
Okay. All right, comrade. We have more comments and questions from our viewers, and let's quickly take them because of our time. This one say, admin and human resources is very critical in MDA's performance. If promotions are not transparent, transfers and redeployment are based on favoritism and prejudices, how can there be performance? That's Okechukwu Okorie. The Binta Abdullahi says, good morning, Nigeria. I know an agency that retirees who are friends of the chief executive are taken as staff to head the wrong position, not their jurisdiction. And because of that, work is just standstill. What is the civil service doing about checking this? I expect that the head of service deploys staff to check formations of agencies and parasitors to see their makeup. Then this Abodering says, good morning. In the Ministry of Education, we submitted APA and not PMS. The best that has ever happened is the introduction of CBT for the promotion of interviews. I hope it will be localized and not converging in Abuja, because people come from all the way. Okay, two more. Good morning, Nigeria. It is crucial to ensure government positions are awarded based on merits rather than other factors. Amphibian from Jaws. This one says, please, I want to know how the Commission is planning to address the non-recognition of some professional qualification like ICANN, ANAN, in some MDAs. This is discouraging some professionals joining the civil service. Matthew Oche Agene from FCT. And this one said, good morning, my people. Please, I wish to let you know that there is no amount of remuneration you give to a civil servant that will make them uncorrupt. The only way to curb corruption in civil service, from my own opinion, is to digitalize the system. A very beautiful morning to you, my amiable PAMSEC. AJ Kalu from Abia State. Please, doctor, I plead you to look into some government agencies to know why some staff are stagnated for 7 to 9 years without promotion, while his or her mates, even or merited officers, are considered. Good morning. Existing staff are yet to be officially recognized or absorbed by newly created ministries and being disowned by the old ministry. No circular or posting letter to the staff directing them on what to do. They are always told to be patient. And this Umparuma says, good morning, Ma. How can civil service reform reduce too much bottleneck in the civil service? I think that has been
we have
questions.
So many questions, and please, you have to bear with us. If we're unable to answer all your questions, I'm sure we'll have a part 2. I'm not sure of this conversation, but if the PAMSEC obliges us, will be able, and of course my producer will probably be able to. But Peter Imoge, you say, what is the Civil Service Commission doing to extend the housing reform to other states of the Federation? And Adeyinka from Kuchigoro, they say, how can civil servants access loans for houses? I don't know which of these questions. I think there's in particular.
Yes, there are so many questions here, but maybe you can respond.
There are tons of questions, and we will take notes, please.
Yes. We'll all right. We will just compile all the questions and then hand them to you.
So I'd like to encourage people to visit our website. There's a lot of information there. One of the things that we need to do as well is to tell the story more, which is why we are here.
Can you give us the website again so that we can, if we do have time, we can display?
So it's www.ohcsf.gov.ng. A lot of information there. This Friday, we are having stakeholders and citizens engagement, which will be chaired by the head of the civil service herself. And we've invited a wide range of stakeholders, and it's open up also to citizens. So that's something that's regular, it's quarterly, and we would reach out more to ensure that we can get the voices of everyone, not just civil servants, not just public servants, but all citizens who are actually our customers. So certainly we will. The head of the Civil Service of the Federation is committed to ensuring that there's feedback regarding what we're doing, and we too can respond to whatever issues are raised. I also want to encourage that people write, because I find that people are reluctant to document and complain about something, so I don't want to be the one to be seen to be, but it's necessary so that we have the documentation and we can follow up on it. So we do have a lot of monitoring that we do from our end, and from the comments that have been raised, we would look at those things specifically, but it would also be very helpful if we can get those official reports so that we can take it up. Just to quickly say that at the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation, we're already digital, so emails, letters, we don't take hard copy letters, but you can send your letters to registry.ohos@ohcsf.gov.ng. registry.ohos@ohcsf.gov.ng. So that goes straight to the head of the civil service, and then it will be tackled.
Okay, I have just one last question,
some ministry are still using APA instead of the PMS.
Okay. So for this exercise, usually you would submit 4 years of APA, but so we're going to do, I think it's 2 years of APA, and then or maybe 3 years of APA and 1 year of the PMS, but the PMS certainly is also going to be used. So for this exercise, we have a hybrid because of the transition.
Yes.
But subsequently, as we go forward, it will now be strictly the PMS. So yes, there's that mix now. Just to also quickly say that the digitalization is across the Federal Civil Service. So a number of ministries are already, their work processes are already digital. For majority, they are in the process, and the head of service has given a deadline to all ministries.
Okay, what in less than 60 seconds, workplace safety measures? I mean, this is something we don't get to see in civil service, environment. Is there also any reform in this area?
Yes, we do have a department that handles that. And we have a number of things that we're doing, but I can see we're constrained with time.
Yeah.
So certainly we will find a way of letting you know, but it's one of the priorities and something we're working on.
Okay. All right. Ajia Bello, in 30 seconds, just tell us more about, just 30 seconds, because we've not heard you since.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. For this gathering, I just want to encourage all the civil servant, public servants to please embrace the use of the AI digital tool to enhance their work. Because a smarter civil servant is a better Nigerian. Yes. And from our civil servant anthem, we say we are marching to greatness. So please, let us all march to greatness digitally using the ServiceWise.
Let us all march to greatness digitally. Thank you so much, Deputy Director, ICT, Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare, WISE GBT, Ambassador Hajia Ramatu Unoza Bello. Thank you so much for coming. Also, I want to thank the Senior Technical Advisor, Governance Reform, Technology and Innovation, Dr. Gideon Adogbo. Thank you so much for coming. President, Association of Senior Civil Servants of Nigeria, and Acting President, Joint National Public Service Negotiating and Council, Comrade Shehu Mohammed. Thank you for your contribution.
Thank you for being here.
And last but not the least, our Permanent Secretary, thank you so much. Dr. Deborah Odell, thank you so much for the insight that you have given us this morning.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.
All right, and that's Good Morning Nigeria for today. We'd like to thank you and watch out for part 2 of this conversation. I am Claire Adelabu Abdul Razak. Bye-bye.
And I'm Ademola Adeye. Do have a lovely day.
Hours a day. NTA International is with you. In your living room, office, and everywhere, anywhere. We provide a company you desire in terms of balanced and up-to-date news, programs, and the best of entertainment.